So a big welcome to today's webinar. This is the second webinar in this new monthly product webinar series that we started last month, where we are focusing on Avallain Author, our content creation tool, and Avallain Magnet, our LMS platform. And today's webinar is going to be an overview of Avallain Magnet, the learning management system. So I'm just going to share my screen, which you should be able to see now. Today's session is titled Learning Outcomes That Matter, Delivering Impactful Teaching and Learning with Avallain Magnet. And my name is Giada. I'm Senior Marketing and Sales Operation Manager at Avallain. I'll be your moderator. And here with me today, I have two of my colleagues, Alina Sitnik, Customer Success Manager, and Stephen Madden, Senior Business Development Manager. And as I said before, we have a lot to cover today in this 30-minute session. We'll start with a quick intro to Avallain. Then we'll have an overview of Avallain Magnet as a teacher. We'll touch on groups and courses, then multiple institutions with Avallain Magnet. And finally, we're going to recap on the value of a powerful, flexible, and customizable out-of-the-box LMS. We'll also have a short Q&A at the end of the session. So in case you have any questions coming up during the session, just feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll aim to address them at the end of the session. Also, the webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be shared with you next week after the event. And with that, we can make a start. So over to you, Stephen, to begin the session, and thank you once again for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Giada, and indeed, you're very, very welcome to today's session, which Giada mentioned is the second in a series of webinars that we'll be running over the coming months. And today's webinar is going to focus on Avallain Magnet, or learning management system. Before we do that, I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Stephen. I've been working in education for 16 years now, firstly as a teacher and in the world of publishing, and more laterally with Avallain as a business development manager. Before we go deeper into what Avallain Magnet can do, just stepping back for a moment and telling you a little bit about who Avallain are. Well, Avallain, I mean, like myself, are based in Switzerland. That's where it was founded. And Avallain is an educational technology company that has been around for quite some time now, since 2002. So 24 years. And of course, meaning next year will be the 25th anniversary of the founding of Avallain. Avallain is a Swiss company, as I mentioned, but very, very international, with people from over 14 nations at last count as part of our team. A development team well established and based around Europe generally. And what we cover is essentially what we like to call the edtech value chain. Everything essentially from production, creating the content, right through to the delivery, and crucially, the analysis as well. And the next slide shows this quite nicely. So you'll see on one side of the slide there in blue, you have Avallain Author, which we looked in a bit of detail in the first of these webinars, and we'll definitely look at more detail in subsequent webinars, and that's a content creation tool. And today we're looking more on that sort of magenta or pink side of the graph, which is Magnet, the platform for delivery. And what Magnet can do is be your platform for delivering those learning content and outcomes. It has teaching and learning tools, and we'll look at some of these over the course of the next 25 minutes or so. It also has very impressive functions to enable sales and distribution, and crucially as well, allows you to create reports and analysis, which will help inform your teaching decisions. So that in a nutshell is what Magnet is. And without further ado, I'm going to show you platform live. So I'm going to switch over here, and I hope you can see that now. That is a login page that we have created, and my colleague Alina will show you in a few minutes actually how login pages like this can be created. In short, this is very, very customizable. We have customized this to match the branding that we have, and particularly for these webinars. But of course, for you as a school or a publisher, you can apply a lot of very relevant customization to this to make sure that when your learners log in, the first thing they're seeing is the sort of look and feel that you want to. And likewise, the look and feel when you log in is something which Alina will show you that can be adapted. I've logged in right now as a teacher. And what do I see immediately? The very first thing I see is the dashboard up here. And on the dashboard, I'm shown the most recent groups. This could be the classes that I'm teaching and also the most recent courses. So as a teacher, you're going to have lots of different classes, lots of different groups that you're teaching. You're going to be teaching various courses. So that's a nice initial way for you to very quickly see what is likely to be the most relevant groups and courses for you without having to do a huge amount of searching around. Of course, you can do that when you click on the courses and the groups. You can scroll down to older ones, but right from the outset, you get an overview of what is most interesting for you. You also see up here that there are some events scheduled for today. So this is our calendar function. And you see you can come up here on the sidebar and tell me about some events that are coming up today. I'm actually going to show this to you in the full screen mode because I think it's a very nice way of looking at it. And you see here a calendar view where you and we're looking here, remember, as a teacher, can see some of the classes that are coming up. So we see here today, Wednesday, 5 o'clock, there is a dialogue practice. This is an online class that has been set up. And when I want to join, I simply can click here on the pink or magenta button, and I'll be able to join in that online session. Tomorrow at the same time, there is a Q&A session. This one, as you can see, is on site. So there you go, a very kind of quick way for you to see as a teacher what's coming up, where it's happening, and a very straightforward and intuitive interface. And that would be a similar interface that would be available for the learners as well. Let's take a quick look at the groups and the learners that we have. We have a group here called language learning, and we have students in here, and we can see a little bit of how they're getting on and their progress so far. But I just want to quickly show you something up here that says create a report. I'm going to click on this, and this will allow you to create a bespoke report that then can be exported into various formats. So you see here the various options that you have, teacher's name, the course due date, the number of attempts, the average amount of time spent per student in the course. I can add in here if I want to get a report on specific assignments that have been given to students, so we can go quite granular on this as well. And you can basically toggle these buttons on and off as needed to ensure that the report that you created is the one that is required for your needs. So this is quite important, often internally within an institution, but also sometimes reports like these are required for external validation as well. I'm not going to create that report, but it will create an Excel spreadsheet for you. Very quickly, coming back here to the dashboard, there is a way for teachers to create some of their own content. Two ways in which they can do that within Magnet. One way is using Magnet Create. We have some courses here already, but let's say I'd like to create a new course. I can go in here to Magnet Create. I can create a lesson if I want to create some of my own content, and you see the various options that are here: free writing, multiple choices, gap text, and so on. And I can go in and sort of manually start creating those exercises. That's one way of doing it with Magnet Create. The other way is to take those lessons that are already existing in courses, like this Magnet language learning, and repurpose them somewhat. So let's say, okay, I really like this one here about meetings, and I know the skills practice there are writing and vocabulary. And I also like this one here called Nice to Meet You. And I'm going to add that into a new lesson that I'm about to create. So you have the ability to take these existing lessons that have been created perhaps in your institution and that have been shared with you and that you're allowed to repurpose like this. This is all very, very customizable, by the way, and organizations can choose to toggle these sort of functions on and off, and you'll see some of that in a moment. But you are able to create some things that are quite bespoke for your learners. The other thing that we have is something called the AI generators Teacher-matic. And what you do is you can come in here as a teacher and you see our purpose-built AI toolkit for teachers. And this will be the subject, I'm sure, of another webinar at a later date to show you how exactly you work this. But just to let you know that that is something that is there and that exists. There's a lot of different sort of customizations and your user features. One which I like to use quite a lot is changing the language. So you can imagine that you have learners who are learning English, for example, but they're still at an A1 or an A2 level. And perhaps you would like those learners to be in a different language. So I'm going to switch it over here to German. I'm actually going to switch into French. And we can see now that the whole platform is in French, and that is something which can be set by the learners themselves and indeed by the teachers. So coming back here to the groups, I showed you how to create the custom reports a few moments ago. But at this point, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Alina, who's going to show you some things about groups and other functions in Magnet in a little bit more depth. Alina.
Thank you, Stephen. I will share my screen now. Let's see. All right. Did it load? Can you tell me?
We can see that, yes.
Thank you very much. All right, let's go into groups. I think I consider groups one of the most central features we have in Magnet because this is where you can basically manage everything as a teacher. So let's go in and let's go straight into it. Let's edit our group. So this is where you can select the users that should be part of your group. You can also deselect the users that shouldn't be part of your group anymore. Completely up to you. You can also generate a group code that allows your students to join your group at any time. It's very convenient when you have an actual classroom session, whether online or physically in a classroom. You just pull up this group code on the screen. The students can copy it, enter it on the platform, and there you go. They're able to join the group. Once they join a group, if they don't already have a subscription, you also have that ability to manage it within groups. So if we go into the subscriptions tab here, we can see that we already have 2 courses selected here that Steven showed, but today I want to add 1 more course to my students as a subscription. So let's save this, and that should get reflected on our main courses page. So here we go. Magnet Primary is a new course that I've added. So as Steven briefly showed, here in the Students tab, we can also track how my students are doing. We can see their average score here, but we can definitely see more detail for each one of them. So let's click on Lucy, see how she's doing. Click more. Here we see how she's doing in terms of mastering or maybe advancing in terms of the skills that she's gaining through completing her learning objects that were assigned to her. So let's go into more detail into the course that she did submit. So here's a breakdown of the skills that she's gained for the content that she submitted. She's really good at reading. She might need a little bit more help with vocabulary and grammar, but we can work on that. This is what the teacher is here for. So here's our breakdown of every single learning object that she submitted. This one needs to be checked off by Steven, manual marked. And then let's see. So for example, I'm a teacher and I would like Lucy maybe to work more on her grammar. What I can do, if we exit this view, we have the assignments tab. The assignments tab is a very powerful feature here because it allows you to really customize the contents that you do assign to your students, as you're able to not only upload your own materials if you wish, but you can pull different contents from the different existing courses in your group, which is very convenient and also allows you to customize the assignment that you want your students to complete. Let's take a look at this one. We already had it created, so I can see that 2 people have submitted already. We have 2 students who have it in progress. Lisa unfortunately didn't start yet. We can probably message her and remind her to finish her assignment. Let's exit this. And the last really nice feature that we have part of the groups is the discussions forum. What you can do is you can create a discussions forum for your teacher on any topic of your choice. You can also link any existing content to the discussion so that the students know that they're supposed to answer the questions that you posted in regards to that specific content, which is very convenient. In terms of teacher admin rights, not only you have access to a group that already exists, you can create your own group, but another powerful feature that we recently added is the switching between institutions. So as a teacher admin, you might be teaching for 2 different schools, or maybe your organization decided to split the institutions per age group, so one for middle school, one for elementary, and so on. So what you are able to do here, if you click on the top right, on the switcher feature here, you're able to switch your institution. So let's take a look at Magnet Language Learning, see how that's set up and how my students are doing in this institution. As soon as we switched, what you can notice is that the design has changed. So the colors are different, the logo is different, and I will show you more on how to customize your institutions, because this is something that comes in very handy. As an organization, you could be working with a number of schools that have their own branding. And so this is something you would like to be able to match. Let's switch to Magnet backend. Magnet admin is the place where everything else is managed. So your users, institutions, subscriptions, your tokens, your translations, and other settings. This is the place of where you set everything up for the front end. So let's go into institutions. Let's go into Magnet Language Learning. And I would like today to actually copy the design from the Product Webinars institution, because this is what I need to do today. Let's take a look. So here on the right, we also always have a preview of what we're setting up, which is very convenient. That prevents you from having to switch to the front end to check your changes. You could just do everything in one place. So let's change our header and footer logo to start with. Here we go. I also do want to change my favicon to the same one as before. And I can also switch the colors. What you can do here, you can already enter the colors that you have saved and have saved for your branding, but you do also have the color picker option here if you do want to just explore what might look good for your institution. Completely up to you. And then let's enter this one and the last one. And we can see this one will be the most significant change. You can see how everything changed on the right straight away. There's also the font type that you can select. And then let's go into the next tab. For the login page, the concept is the same. You just do switch everything, and then whatever changes you implement, they are reflected here on the right. So let me just quickly change the logo here as well. And I want it to be larger size. And then for the background image, let's match it up to Product Webinars. And there we go. This is saved. These 2 tabs are in terms of design. And then we have this very interesting and important tab called Additional Features. And that's basically where you set up everything that's available in your institution for your users to use. We have the message center, we have the video calls, we have some other features like Teacher Admin Insights. I find that one very useful because teachers are able to actually track how their students are logging in, how many people logged in the last 7 days or a month. So I really like that, and I'm going to turn it on. We have our apps available to be downloaded if you do turn on those toggles. Single sign-on options. Language switch that Stephen just showed. We also have the calendar feature. I will turn it off just for showcasing purposes. We also have the Magnet Kids toggle right here. It's a very powerful one because once you do turn it on and you save everything, your interface changes completely to be suitable for younger learners. So let's save our changes. And let's switch. Here we go. So the design now matches the previous institution. The calendar is also gone because I did switch it off. And the Insights page is now visible to us as a teacher. So I hope you found this bit interesting, and we'll definitely be exploring more of these. I'll pass back on to Stephen.
Thank you very much, Alina. That's really fascinating to see just the sort of level of out of the box customization options that there are in terms of making your platform look and feel the way that you want it to look and feel. Um, I hope you're seeing my slide now. One of the ones that you mentioned there, Alina, was Magnet Kids. And I just thought I'd show briefly on a slide here what happens when you have a platform that is from Magnet Kids, because obviously the needs of the learners of young learners is quite different to adults. And what we saw when I was showing things earlier would be a typical platform view for adult learners. But of course, for the kids, it's going to need to look a bit different. And you can see some of the ways in which it would look different for young learners on the screen here. You can see, for example, the kids can select an avatar that they like. They can select a dashboard color, so they're able to kind of have a little bit of input and choose how they want their platform to look. And overall, as well, you can see that the platform looks that bit more appealing for students, and also more focused really on the content that they need to do. So that's one of those really nice aspects of Magnet, the ability to create a learning experience specifically for younger learners. And it's not just the way in terms of its look and feel, but also having built-in features like a parent's role, which is obviously very, very important. You have things even like a school badge, essentially a QR code that can be printed out, and the students can have their QR code and hold it up to the camera on the laptop, and that will allow them to log in instead of them needing to be able to remember a password, which, as you can imagine, for a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old is not always ideal. So lots of very, very nice features there. And Magnet Kids is, again, one of these ones that we may well explore in more depth at a later stage in one of these webinars. So over the course of the last 20 minutes or so, we've shown you some of the features of Magnet. And really what we love about this product is the way that it's capable of covering all the needs of learning management, delivery, the administrators. We saw what you saw what Alina showed, the teachers in terms of the grade book, the mark book, and the students with the sort of journey that they have as well. We have the sort of scaling features. So a lot of organizations, when they come and talk to us, they're saying, okay, we're starting off with digital learning, or we want to get bigger quite quickly. And we have these sort of inbuilt scaling options. Just for as one example, the institution switcher that Alina mentioned, the way that you can have teachers teaching across multiple institutions and very easily and very painlessly move from one to the other. Of course, this is all powered by a seamless, we call ecosystem integrated between Avallain Magnet, or content creation tool, and Avallain Author, or content creation tool, and of course Magnet, which is the delivery tool, which we saw today, all inside in one niche edtech system. So what does all this mean? All this means essentially is significantly reduced operational complexity. It's easy for your teachers, it's easy for your learners, and it's easy for your administrators. It's very, very customizable, as you saw today, and it's customizable out of the box and without significant struggles to be able to get something that looks and feels the way that you want it to look and feel. It's really suitable for every commercial model. We didn't really get to look at things around subscriptions and tokens and so on, but all that functionality exists there, and it means that it can be applied in a lot of very different ways. And I mean, what that all means ultimately is that it delivers for the learners what we consider to be rich and meaningful learning experiences, and that is for every type of learner. So be there an adult, be there a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, there's the ability to deliver the experiences that those learners need to have. So that is in short. Magnet. At this point, I'm going to hand over to you, Giada, and we're going to check the chat to see if
Thank
there's
you.
questions.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you, Alina, for showing us Avallain Magnet in this very short demo. We covered a lot, though, even though the time wasn't huge. So thank you so much. So yes, this is the time for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. Don't be shy. We're here to answer them. I can see that there is already one. So we have a question asking, can courses created on Moodle be added to Magnet easily? Where can information of the cost be found monthly or annually? For example, for a solo teacher setting up an online tutor course. Stephen, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, sure. I might actually, I can take the second part. I mean, the first part, Alina, maybe you could talk
Yes,
a little bit about Moodle and the sort of integration possibilities. Then I'll address the second part.
that's fine. So Alina, feel free to answer the first part if you don't mind.
Of course. Yes, Moodle can be easily integrated with Magnet via LTI. So you don't actually have to add anything manually. It's an LTI connection. If you do know how it works, in very simple words, you just need a few parameters that we need to enter on our side, and you do have to set up a few things on your side. And then there's that connect between Magnet and Moodle that exists. And there's no, I will answer this bit a little bit. It's just there's no cost for Moodle itself. We do charge you for the billable users, though. That's what our pricing is based on, but Stephen will expand on that.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. The pricing is based on the number of users that you have. I think you mentioned you're a solo teacher, so that would probably be appealing as well. You may have 30 students right now, but maybe in the future there's going to be 150. But you're only paying for the number of students that you actually have, so it's a per student fee. The exact pricing and so on is something we would need to discuss. There's some factors that depend on that, but I think you'll be sharing
A link,
a
yes,
link
for
as well, Giada, where you can kind of request a bit more information on stuff like that. Thank you, Daniela.
exactly. Yes. Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Alina. If there are any other questions, we're here to answer them. Maybe, Stephen, just because you show us the login page, I know that you also mentioned briefly that there are SSO options. So can you just explain a bit more about how does that work?
Yeah, so there's so a lot of people want to be able to log into a learning management system with the sort of existing credentials that they have and Magnet allows that to happen for many of these SSOs, and certainly most of the very, very large ones. Google, for example, is one, and you may have briefly seen that on the screen when Alina was showing the admin. Google is one. I think Apple is another. Okta. We also have Bildungs login, which is a very one used in Germany, in schools in Germany. So it's a good example of ones where we can also kind of take sort of local, regional, national requirements that often exist. Schools want their learners to log in a certain way and not have 100 different accounts. And there's always the ability to do adaptation with that. And I would say you'll see some examples on our website of this. But if you don't see, we have included every single one that we support on the website. So please, send us an email, ask if there's one that you're particularly interested in, and we'll be able to very quickly get back to you on that because we have a lot of experience at doing this and making it happen.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, and indeed, I think it's a great way to make the experience even more seamless
Yes.
in terms of logging in. So thanks for that. Okay, great. So then, Stephen, if you don't mind moving on to the next slide, as you mentioned earlier, in case you have any additional question, or for example, like Daniela, you would like to know more about like the cost of Magnet for your own specific use, you can just get in touch with us by either scanning the QR code that you can find on the screen right now, or I'm also dropping a link in the chat. So you just need to fill in this very short form, and then a member of the team will get in touch with you to answer your questions. Most likely will be Stephen or someone else part of the team. So feel free to follow the link, or actually, sorry, let me the link just went. Okay, I'm dropping the link now. So either follow the link that I just shared in the chat or the QR code that you can see on the screen, and we'll have a demo for you. And also, this is a monthly product webinar series, so we're happy to invite you to the next webinar in the series, which is going to be on the 19th of August, always on Wednesday, like today, and same time as today. So if you want to register, you can scan the QR code, or I'm also dropping the registration link in the chat now. So in this case, what we're going to do is an overview of Avallain Author, our content creation tool. So definitely a very insightful session and that you wouldn't want to miss. So just secure your spot there. But don't worry, because all of this information, including also the link for the form that I shared earlier, will be part of the email that we're sending next week together with the recording of today's session. So I think now we can make an end to today's session. So thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you, Alina. Thank you, Stephen. And thanks to all of you. And we hope to see you again in the next session.
Avallain, digital education solved.